Good afternoon or morning, ladies. We're so glad you're with us today. We are going to go ahead and start. Let you guys get on so you don't miss anything. So feel free to share, comment, and we'll be back here in about a minute so that we can just let everybody log in. So we'll see you soon. Stay tuned. Don't worry, those who are logging in, your screen is not frozen. We're just letting you have some time to get in. We've heard from a lot of you that you'd like a few minutes to get logged in so you don't miss any of the beginning part. So we're just allowing about a minute or two for you all to hop in, share, make sure you're in the right spot. We are so grateful for you guys giving us a couple days to get our internet back. We didn't get it back until, I don't know, it was like 9 or 10 o'clock on Saturday.
Hello, everyone. It's Donelle and Megan, and we've just been giving you a little bit of time to get started, just because we have, as Megan said, had so many people say I missed the first part. So it's about 4 after 5. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And you can see I've got some fun fabric here. And the companions to that are this fabric and this fabric. And we are going to have fun with this today. And
I wish you guys could see. I don't know. Can they see the glitter? There's like glitter in this
there
one.
They can. Yeah, they can see it
fun?
there.
Love it.
So that has got a little bit of glitter in it. And we got so excited when we saw this last week. And we're so pumped to give a class on Saturday. But luckily, you still have time to make these because Easter is this week. So anyway, this is the pattern we're going to be using. And some of you may already have it. And we have done it in a lot of different ways. And I will tell you that this pattern was created long before I had a circles and straights tool. So this is perfect for that. I didn't have that luxury when I was using or making these originally, but now you do. And this pattern is available. I think Megan's going to drop the link in.
I'm working on it.
And if you will add my affiliate link to that, that would be great. And it's over on that orange sheet of paper above my computer. Give her. She's going to get it for you so that way we will get credit for it. And Megan, it's on that peach colored paper right above my computer. Okay, so this is that pattern. Some of you may already have it, but you can get it from Sew Steady. And so we are going to be working with that. So I already got my fabric cut. There's no reason for you guys to watch me cut it. And so on the big piece, which is the back, you are going to fuse a fusible fleece. Now I use Pellon 987F. And the thing that I want to tell you about it is when you're doing that. Now I've already started my my template quilting, but that doesn't matter. But when you put this on here, you are going to put the little bumps that are on the Fusible down to the back of the fabric. And then I just take about 4 places and I use my steam iron and I give it a shot of steam, and then I move it and I get another one over here. And in other words, I just get like 4 places of this, and then I turn it back over. Now, once you have put your iron onto that fleece, you are going to need to rub it on a piece of, it's over by the ironing board there. I meant to bring it over and I didn't. But a piece of, what is it, Megan?
Bounce dryer sheet?
Well, yeah, it's a bounce dryer sheet, but you're going to lay that bounce dryer sheet. That's my bounce dryer sheet. It's on paper towel. I couldn't even think. And I've got like 2 or 3 layers of paper towel here. I got my bounce dryer sheet. So after you have touched your iron to this fleece, even though it's not sticky, it won't want to glide on your fabric. So I just keep this sitting right by my ironing board and I just glide it over. It's a new bounce dryer sheet that I've used for this purpose and this purpose alone. So it's been used many times and it's still good. When it's not, I'll pick it up off of there, keep it folded, turn it over, and use the other side.
Now, did you tell them that it has to be a new dryer sheet?
I think so, but if not, that's a good reminder. It needs to be a new dryer sheet. You don't want one that has been used in the dryer. You just want to have this here so I can put the glide back on my iron. So after I do that, then what I'm going to do is come back to this and I'm just going to press and steam all over this. And it'll be much easier to get the steam from the iron through the layer of fabric than it is to get it through the layer of fleece. Remember, the glue is on that side right there. And so it's closer to the back side of this than it is from this side. And that's why I just get it a little bit glued from the wrong side or the fleece side. And then I go back and I do it from the right side.
We've had excellent questions. Does it have to be a bounty sheet?
A bounce dryer sheet?
Yes.
It just has to be one of these. You can get an off-brand. It just has to be one that is not the spongy type.
Susie says, what if you don't use dryer sheets? Is there something else you can use?
I would buy a box of dryer sheets just for this purpose.
Okay.
Because if you get sticky stuff on your iron, this is going to get it off and it works perfect. So I would buy a box of these just for that very purpose. You can get them in boxes of like 10 or 12, so you wouldn't have a whole bunch of them. But they will make the glide on your iron so much better. I use them on my regular iron and I use them on my small iron. And for those of you that have not heard me say this, one time way back in the day, for some reason, I got a bread wrapper close to my iron. And let me tell you, I had a mess on my iron. But that bounce dryer sheet got it all off of there. So it does work. So then this one is going to be ready to go ahead and do our work, which we'll come back to in just a moment. Now, I do want to show you that I keep a little basket, it's getting pretty big now, of extra pieces of my fleece, because in the case of this one, you can see it if I leave it here, I needed an additional 2 inches. I guess I pull it down so you can see it. I needed an additional 2 inches on the end here. I had a piece that was 16, but I didn't have a spare that was 20 or 18. So all I do is make sure that when I cut my fleece, I always cut it with a rotary blade and a ruler so that that's a straight edge. And this little scrap that I cut was a straight edge too. And those are just right side by side. They'll be perfect for my back. So that's my back. My front is in multiple pieces so that it can be used as the turn, because you got 3 different pieces on the front. So what I have here is my 2 strips that are going to be my edging, or what I call flat piping, because it's going to actually be like what you would do for piping. This is going to be the top. This piece right here, this will also, I'll make a circle and you'll see how it goes. This is going to be, nope, this is my middle piece. This is my top. And this little guy is going to go in between there. And then I have another piece that's going down here. Now this fabric has direction. So I'm going to turn it so that it's in the right direction. And then this piece is going to go in here. Now I've already folded that and I actually cut it. The fabric comes off of the bolt in this direction, but I cut it so that it was parallel to the selvage so I could get those little rickrack looking things going up and down. It would not be very pretty to have it going this way. So take your fabrics, give them a little bit of an audition and see what you want. So in just a little bit, I'll be putting my machine back to the regular stitch, straight stitch, and I'll stitch this one on this way, and I'll stitch this one on this way. That's the raw edges together, fold is here. Raw edges together, fold is here. You don't need to make all those notes, you just need to get a pattern, and it'll tell you all of that. But what we're going to do first on this front is this has a piece of fleece on the back of it because we are going to do some template quilting on this piece and we will want it to show up. And the only way we can get it to show up is to have some fleece on that. So let's take these out of the way. You can see I've got another couple pieces here, and this is because we're going to make a napkin, a round napkin. So we're going to use that Circles and Straight's tools today to our best advantage. So let's go back to that front piece first. Excuse me, that back piece. Where did I pitch it? There it is. I have used on this piece, let me know if you have questions, okay? I have used our clamshell template, the 3" by 1.5 inch. Now, for those of you that don't know how this is measured, this is from the sampler set. From the base here to the base there is 3 inches. And if this is like, if you turned it around, it's going to be a circle. So if this is 3 inches, the height of it is 1.5 inches. We are going to use on the front, we're going to use this, I think. I'm not sure yet, but this one is 1 inch from this point to this point. And then that way it's only 1/2 inch tall. So I want to finish quilting this so that you can see how it's done. Now, when I started down here at the bottom, you notice my bunnies are heads up. When I started down here at the bottom, I came up so that it was like 1/2 inch there. So you can either measure it and mark it, or guess what? Your tool, your template, I should say, has markings for that. So the one that I use, let's see if I can show you, is this one. Right here is what I would normally use, but I'm going to use this one down here on that bottom so that that way I was able to move up that 1/2 inch.
Question, is the pattern also available as a digital download?
I believe it is.
Okay.
I believe it is offered as a digital download. That may be the only way it's offered. I'm not certain. So I believe it's on there. Does it say when you go to that page?
I'll look into it. You keep going.
Okay. All right. So I have already started here. And when I started this, the reason I told you it was 3 inches from here to here is because this across here happens to be 18. And 18 is divisible by 3 inches. So you're either going to start with a whole one, which was what I did, and the next row you'll have a 1/2 one, or you start this one with a 1/2 one and then have a hole going across. It does not matter because we're not going to worry about anything on the edge because that's all going to get cut off. So I'm coming up here where my last one was, and that one is a half and then a whole. So the first one is now going to be in the next row, a whole one. So I'm going to bring my template, right here is the base. I'm going to bring that template. Did I say a whole one? Yes. So I'm going to put this, so this right here is right in that line with that. And my green arrows are pointing out what should be resting on top of the hill. So right there is where my piece comes down for that half a circle. And if I do this as a half a circle, it's not going to be right. So I need to move this over. And if you look at this that's the straight up and down in the middle is lined up right here with that straight up and down. And as I said, this is going across here. So I'm going to start right out here on the edge. Now, if your machine is really fussy, you're going to need to pull that up. But if not, you should just be able to start, because this edge is not going to matter. It's going to get cut off. So I'm going to show you here. There's a half. There's a half. That's a whole, which makes that clamshell. Now I'm just going to be able to line my green line up again with the tops. I'm coming right clear down here. It's lined up with the top. And I just thought that this looked really cute with those eggs, giving it that round look going on there.
Kind of gives the dimension that there's even more eggs on top of these eggs.
Yeah. And so you can see down here that this is a little bit off, but we're not going to worry about that because we're not even going to work with that edge again. I'm going to hit my cutter button and I'm going right back to this other side. Now with this one being a whole one, the next one will be a half. So I just need to get this straight line here lined up with that straight line there. Line this up right with the top there and make sure I've got everything held in place. Put my foot down. If you have to adjust, for example, right here, this straight line should come right down to the base of that design. You can see it underneath there. So it's lined up, but let's say it wasn't. You could always stop at the top of the hill and shift left or right to line this up. Ours is lined up, so we can just move on. You can see this next one lined up down there. And then I've got just a partial out here. I'm going to use my cutter. Come back over here. Our first one's a half a one. So this one's going to be a whole one. So I need to line up that line right there and there. And then this line here, I just need to move over so it's lined up.
So now that you're doing this, the question has come in, is there a reason when you get to the end, you didn't sew back right to left?
Just because of the fact that I feel it's easier to keep one side going. And since we're going to be cutting this, it doesn't really matter, because one of the ways, I'll show you here, one of the ways people line this up is they would come to this point and then stitch back to the hill and move it up and go back the other way. Well, that's fine and it works, but it's not necessary on this because of the fact that we are just sewing off the edge because our edge doesn't really matter. And if you've never done side to side like this on something where the edge didn't matter, it's probably like a concept you're thinking, what in the world is she talking about? But we have a raw edges all the way around. And we could even have sewn in this margin to get from one place to the other. But I think it's just easy enough to go back to the other side. Now, right here is going to be a bit tricky because some of it is really going to be almost out off of the edge. In fact, it is going to be.
So is it worth even sewing it?
Well, because I want to use every bit of my fabric, it is worth that. So I'm going to show you how I do it here. And for those of you that are new, because the main reason I'm doing a project that uses circles is I've sold so many circle units at the last couple of shows. And I know you wanted to see how to do that. So some of you, this may be so totally new, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to go up to here. And obviously I can't get across there. So what I'm going to do, where's my piece? I'm going to take a piece that has a straight edge cut on it. And I'm simply going to set that down and hold it together. And stitch back into where I need it to be. I'm going to cut that off, but my stitches will still be where they're supposed to be. So now I just hold that in place. Sew out there. We don't really care what it looks like, but sew back on it. Come back down here. Hold again, that's in place. I have done this when I've been using Donna McCauley's winding way tools. Because when I'm doing them, sometimes I'm just totally off the edge, but I still need to have this quilting in there. And so for that reason, I can just take this. This is finished now. And I can come back here and I'm just going to cut those couple of places. And that way my quilting did not get interrupted at all. It's still got complete sections. And just like that, you were able to get across there with that. Now, I can tell you that I used that to start with also, because down here, when I had my template on for this, I had stable tape, sorry, there you go. I had stable tape that was off the edge. And when I'm doing that, if the stable tape is grabbing onto my glider, that's not good either. So when I was doing this, I was just going like that and coming around my template while this is holding with my stable tape. So when you're starting something or when you're finishing like I just did, if you just have mine here is like 3 inches by about 18 inches. And that way I can just use that, cut it off at the top, whatever, wherever you need to cut it off. And it will give you what you want regarding your design. Now, why did I take the time to quilt this? Well, first of all, after this is laundered, this is going to hold this so much better. It's going to, it looks better. It's firmer. It's going to be able to be used. I'll turn it over so that you can see the quilting, because it's just, if you've never done any of this quilting like the edge to edge with your sampler set, and there's a lot of templates in there that you can use for edge to edge. So do we have any questions on that, Megan?
Not yet that I know of.
Okay, let me get my other piece here. Oh, there it is right there. Now on this one, I can quilt it the same way, because this is the banner, or the one that's going to go across the front. I can quilt it the same way, or I could quilt it with the small side, or I could even use this to quilt the cross hatching. So I think what I'm going to do, do you guys want to see the cross hatching? Let's ask him that. Who wants to see cross hatching? You can either put cross hatching or scallops. And Megan will just take you guys, you run some down there. So, or should we just do hearts and thumbs up? Is that easier? All right.
Yeah, give him some time.
I know. Cross hatching, scallops. Cross hatching, cross hatching, cross hatching, cross hatching. Okay. We're going to say out of the first 10, it was cross hatching. So that's what I'm going to show you. Now, these are the mini templates for marking 5, 7, 6, and 8. Okay. Now, I have heard, and I believe it to be factual, that these have been reduced in price. So you get all three of them together, and they were $30, but I believe they have been reduced in price. So we're going to say that they have been. You can put that on there to see, Megan, and get a link for those, and you can put that reference on that too, so that the affiliate link is on there. What I like to do, and why I'm showing you that, is I use this to set up my cross hatching. So what I'm going to be doing is I am going to find the middle of this piece. Well, I happen to know, again, that it is 18 inches. So this is going to be my center. I just need to mark that center there. And I am going to I'm going to use my 6 point. And I'm going to set that right on that line where the mark is, and this line going across the bottom. And then I'm going to mark that. These are the only 2 lines you need to mark. I hope you can see that. I think you can. And then I'm going to take my longer ruler and I'm going to extend that line. Both ways. Now, the reason I'm going several times is my marker is about out, and I wanted you to be able to see that particular line. So we are going to set this down and put my needle in. And I'm going to use something else to get my 1/4 inch because my tools are all packed. So there's my 1/4 inch. I should be using my spacing gauge. So I'm going to stop right before I go off of the fabric. And I'm going to come back this way. And since I want to be on that line, I'm using this again to get my 1/4 inch there. And now I know that I have a 1/2 inch margin here that I can move left and right in, because that's going to have both of these sides are going to have the little band on it. So I'm going to set this up, and I'm just going right beside this edge because I just want to stay in that 1/4 inch. And I want my lines to be 1 inch apart. Now you can use your Echo Guide to do this. And let me just step over here because I think my Echo Guide is over in that.
All right, well, while she's doing that, I'm going to show you. I dropped the link for the crosshair grid, but just kind of a how-to. When you get onto it, it'll show this ginormous one, and you're going to say, that's not what I want. So what you'll do is on your computer, your phone, wherever you're going to go, come down to the bottom, and there's two options. So you want to click on size, click on mini set, and then select option is also mini set. So it won't change the photo up here. It'll once you click on mini set, it'll then change the photo. But before that, it'll just show the big one, the 12-inch set. So make sure you click on mini set down here. And they are on sale. They are $24 right now for all three of those. So that's how you find the mini set with the link that I just dropped in the chat.
And I wish I had my Echo guides, but I evidently have them packed also. So we're going to show you this way. If you had your Echo guide, you would put your 1 inch on there because we're going to do a 1 inch line. So I need to dance back over this way. And I am going to take my ruler and put it on 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. And I put it on 3/4 because of the fact that I already have a 1/4 built into my foot. So I'm coming down here. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to move this into that 3/4, make sure I've got it straight. And I'm going back this way. Now, this angle, you can see it starting to develop down here. I'll have to move it so you can see it. Let's go back here. You can start to see this developing. It is not a 45-degree angle. See that right there? You can see that it's more of the diamond shape, no matter how you do it. That's because we use the 6-point. And by using the 6-point, we're getting a 60-degree angle rather than the 90-degree angle. But this is what it is really nice to be able to, like when you're making bags or something like that, where you're going to have pockets that you need to have quilted fabric. You can obviously quilt a whole big piece and then cut out your pattern pieces, or you can cut out your pattern pieces and then quilt them. And I recommend that you check the pattern to see what the seam allowance is, and you may want to make your piece bigger so that then once you quilt it, you can cut off all those edges. Now on this piece, it's going to be perfectly fine. You can see I can't go 1 inch, so I'm coming like this, moving it in. And if I had my Echo guides here, it would be so easy to gauge that. This is not hard. It's just easier with the Echo guides. So Kate and Ann were at a show a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even last week at Branson. I was at a show in Atlanta and Lakeland, Florida. And next week, I will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not this week, but next week, in the Akron, Cleveland, Ohio area. So you can catch us there. It's been so fun to meet so many of you and share our stories as far as how you have accomplished your things, or maybe show you a technique that you're struggling with. Please be sure to introduce yourself when you are at those shows. And yes, we've been super, super busy. I've had great help at all of my shows. Ann was with me in the Atlanta show and more, I should say. I just assume you guys know who I'm talking about. And Kim Mayberry from the Atlanta area. And then when I was in Lakeland, Kim was there also, and Kelly Watkins. She is from the Virginia Beach area. So great help everywhere I have been. And we've had a lot of fun meeting all of you. And the day goes so fast because of the fact that we have so many people coming by, asking questions, allowing us to show them some new tools and things. And let me tell you, get a group of your friends together and go have a girls' couple of days. And I have been finding great opportunities for that because obviously there are 3 of us in this shows and can save some money by using Airbnb. So if you are wondering how you and a group of your friends could do that, that's a great way. Maybe I should contact Airbnb and ask for a discount for telling about them, but it has been great. So anyway, as you can see while I'm doing this, I'm just moving it over to that 3rd line each time. And now I've got the whole other end finished. So I'm going to cut this off and work back away from this one. And again, it just gives your fabric so much more stability. You could even do an embroidery on here. If you have an embroidery machine, you could do an embroidery, an Easter embroidery, a spring embroidery if you want it to last longer. And the fun thing is you can work with your scraps. Your placemats don't all have to be exactly alike. But it was fun to go. I think, Megan, our fabric was half price, wasn't it, when we got it? Because it was so close to Easter. So, and again, I did not actually wash or launder this fabric, but I pre-shrunk it just by putting steam on it and pressing it with my starch or my starch alternative. And I did all of that before I cut out my pieces. I hope all of you stayed safe during what ended up a crazy Friday evening for our area. We've got a lot of damage about 10 miles from us. Thankfully, it had weakened by the time it got to us, but we still didn't have internet. And we were so pumped to do this class. So here is what it looks like now. Remember, that was using my 6-point mini crosshair square. Found the center first and marked the lines, and then that's how you end up with having that. Now, we are going to be changing, because I've done all the quilting that I need to do. We're going to change to our regular foot and to our mat that is for the circles and straights. So I'm going to take this foot off and put this foot on. I'm going to change back to a regular straight stitch. And just a hint for those of you that might be new, whenever I title a class, I put the date that it was held, I put the name of it, and then I usually put what's the feature. So like the circles and straights, I could have added echo guides and, other things to it, but mainly it was featuring the circles and straights. So now, before I forget, let me get back to that straight stitch. And of course, my machine says, do you have the correct foot on? And I do. And so you that have these know that this is the Circles and Straights mat. Okay? And this is going to peel off the back just like your glider does. I'm going to have you keep track of that for me. And I don't even take off the other mat. I just put this on here and line up. This is for the needle. This is for the needle. And it needs to be in line with that. And then I'm just going to lay it right on top of here. There's no reason why you have to take it off. Now I'm going to be doing a 17.5-inch circle. So what I want to do is, you can see on mine very lightly, there's an etching this way and there's an etching that way. It really doesn't matter whether I put it on this way or that way. I just have to line it up so that that pen is going to be on the 17.5. And you know, I think I'm going 17 because now that I've quilted it, I'm sure it's pulled it in a little bit more. Because remember, it means that there's only going to be 1/4 of an inch around it if I do it at 17.5. Oh, I guess you guys couldn't even see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up so that this is lined up with the 17. So when I take that out of there, you know what? I got to do a couple things first. And I need this area. So I'm going to move that. This is the one that is our backing. And then what we have to do is we're going to put down first the one that's going to be closest to the fabric. So I have these extra pieces here. That's what getting sewing without directions. I should have paid attention. I need to stitch this on first. And then Megan, you're going to go iron this, press it. So I'm putting this on here. I'm going to put this at the 1/4 of an inch, but it's actually 3/8 of an inch because I'm using the edge of my foot, which is what I had planned for. Now this one has the bunnies. You can see right here. So this is my bottom piece because I want to make sure I get everything going the direction it was intended to go. This extra will be cut off. So I'm going to just cut that. And since it's only just a little piece, I'm going to just cut that off. And when she presses this, she will set the seam like this. Just press it like that. And then this will get folded. You know what, Megan? I am really messing up tonight. You guys, this piece goes on the centerpiece that I just quilted. So I need my seam ripper. It wouldn't be Donelle on a class without me making a mistake. So it is what it is. Now, once I've got that started, then I'm just going to take, for those of you that are not familiar with this seam ripper, that's a joke, right? I'm just going to go under about every 6th stitch. And no, I do not count. And I'm going to pull that through. I just heard something drop outside and I looked up and it appears that all of my product has been delivered for my next show because there are huge boxes of stuff Wonderful stuff. So it's kind of hard for me to keep it in your sight and me to see it. So then once you do that, when the threads that you had before will just rip right out. So you have it much easier to get that undone. But you got to start with doing it kind of a traditional way, but then coming and doing this. So I'll get it so you can see it there. And it takes a good sharp seam ripper, and the sharpness of the seam ripper is not only how pointed the blade or the pointed the point is, but how sharp it is back here in the blade part, because it's back in the back where that actually cuts. So this just makes it so much easier, and you can get that out. And I actually, the little threads that remain, I just use my lint roller and go right over that. So here we are on the back with that long thread that hasn't been cut. Well, there we go. And it'll just pull right out. Okay, now let's do it right this time, okay? This one fortunately doesn't have a direction on it, but both of these pieces go on either side of this. So make sure you get it down there long enough. I just love these two fabrics together here. All right, we're going to put one on the other side. And as you can see, that covered up our other stitching. Now I got some of those threads that'll have to come out, but we'll be fine. So I'm going to turn it around this way. And make sure you get the raw edges, because this is a piece that's folded in half. I know you guys don't see me sew that fast very often, but we're going to sew this pretty lickety-split here. All right. And just like on the other one, we'll cut this off. So now Megan will go press it just flat like this, and then this whole thing goes down and back. Okay, so this will be facing the center there. All right, while she's doing that, I think I can handle the rest of this. So we want our bunnies on the back with their heads facing up. And the bunnies on the front, you can see they're facing up too. So I'm going to put that right there. And then the one up at the top here, we obviously want the bunnies facing the correct way. So that would be this way, but we got to turn it over. And we're going to put them up here at the top. And I want to get this so that the edges are even. I'm going to put a couple of pins up here at the top. You'll see why in just a second. So when we turn this, we are going to have it so all we have to do is top stitch across those two edges that we put the piping on. So if we left it like this, this would be what shows out. But we're going to pull this down and this up and get this section and place it here in the center. So now again, I'm going to use my mat, knowing where my center is.
The question is, are you sure it's not upside down? So just double check, make sure your stuff is right.
My bunny's here and my bunny's there.
But when you turn her around,
They're going to still be there.
okay. Just making sure.
Bunny's that way, bunny's this way. So right here is the way this is going to lay. We've got that much of the overlap. So what I'm going to be doing is just making sure that a few things are pinned in place so they don't go anywhere. So when this is stitched, now you got me scared, guys. I know the bunnies are headed the right way. Okay. So now we are going to mark what's our center. And I think it should be that or that, if I've done it correctly. And it looks like I have. So right here in the center, that's where our pen's going to go. Right there. So from that to this edge, yep. So now back this out of here and put this back in place. Now that we're down here, we're ready to line this up. Push it down, but don't push it too hard or you will never get it off of there. And come back and put our pen in place. Right on that mark. Am I in the screen correctly, Megan?
Yep.
There we go. All right. So now I got to check. I'm not going to catch everything. So I'm going to leave it on the pen, pull this back, and move it over a little bit more. Okay, make sure you got it lined up this way and this way. And so now I just check to see that everything's going to be okay. And so I'm going to take this pen out and put it down here. Put my foot down and just let it sew. I need to slow her back down. And you can see that I'm just holding the fabric smooth so it goes in its perfect circle. Now when we get this stitched, we are going to cut it out with pinking shears. I don't sew over pins, so that's why I was taking those out, because they were going to get stitched over. Now we're almost back around, and I'm kind of confused how we didn't get exactly back around. So look how it's off right there. That doesn't usually happen. Yeah. So hang on. As long as it's off that way, we're good. Because I'm just going to set it back where it was correct and go back in here and push this back in place. Don't let things like that get to you. And then I'm going to put the foot back up and see where it got off. We're still good. We're still good. And now is where it's starting to get off. So I'm going back here to where it was right on the line. I'm going to push this down again because I don't want it going off. It's actually kind of good that that happens, so you can see how you can get it back in place. And now watch, when we come here, right here we are, it's going to come right back to where it's supposed to. So I just overlapped the stitching and I'm cutting that. I'm going to take these pins out. But you can see how this matched up exactly, but look how far out this other one was. And that was because my pin came loose. So you can see it just gradually got more and more and more and more and more. So that's the way you would fix that back, would be to go back to where you started and put it where you intended it to be. I'm going to leave that right there because I'm going to use it again in a minute. And now is when we're going to use our pinking shears.
I was going to say, so this is not going to be a big deal. You're not going to go back and...
Yeah, we don't have to take anything out. No, not in this case. We didn't have to. So I'm just going to start here.
Oh, the question has come in. Did we forget to leave an opening?
No, we didn't. We got openings right here.
Super cool, so y'all just wait.
It's really easy to work with this. This right now is going through the about 8 layers of fabric and fleece right here. So I'm just cutting this up next to that one because that's the good circle. And if you don't have a good pair of pinking shears, these are definitely good ones. They're not the most expensive on the market, but they are the ones that I find to be the best, and they're by Famore. But pinking shears make it turn so much easier because of the little notches that are naturally formed. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this out. So we got bunny heads this way, and they're the right side on that way. And I'm going to take right now either your point turner or what's called a point turner and creaser, and I'm just running that around that top. I'm going to flip it over back to the back and turn this one out. And again, my bunnies are still going the right way. So just use that point turner or creaser. And then this being the last piece, the whole thing gets flipped through. And now when we're on a flat surface, that will cover this up. And after we press it, all we have to do is stitch right across there. And because there's extra under here, it holds that down in place. And your placemat just needs to be edge stitched. Okay, so when Megan goes over there, she's going to be rolling that seam so that it just lays nice and flat. And while she's doing that, you've got plenty of time, Megan, because I'm going to show them how to make a mug mat.
You're not going to show them how to make the napkin?
I am, but I'm going to do the mug mat first because it's real quick and easy. So, mug mats. This is the top piece that's going to go on the top. So I'm going to stitch this up here. I'm going to cut that. I've already put Fusible on the back of the back. On this one, you could go ahead and you could do all of that extra stitching if you want. I'm not going to because basically time. And you can see I can get that pretty flat there. So all I'm going to do is lay this one down. And then I want my bunny heads to be up because this is the top. And you know, I want my bunny to show more than that. So, oh, he's not going to. I thought I had cut him so he would, but he's not. So I'm going to take this and bring it down here. And I'm going to make it so that it is a 5-inch. Make sure this is lined up right with that. Put a couple of pins in to hold it. And again, I need to find my center. That must not be the one I used because it didn't give me a line. There we go. And there we go. So right there's my center. Foot down, put your pin back on. I'm just going to go ahead and cut that. So now when I turn that, I only have 2 to turn, the top one and the bottom one. And you can see we could flatten these out, and then all we have to do is top stitch across here because this is overlapping that. And then edge stitch all the way around. You can see that one almost turned perfectly just to begin with there. So now let's go back to our one that Megan just pressed. And you can see how cute this is right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch to make sure I catch. So I'm going to go guide right along this edge right here. Now, when your foot sticks up like that, that just means you need to have a little bit of height behind it. So I'm going to put my needle down and I'm going to raise my foot. And this is just my little starting block that I use. And I'm just going to sit that back behind there, put this back down, and it will level it all out. So it will go right on through there. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Lost my starting block. Clear back off my big table here. Some of you are probably worried because I didn't backstitch that. Don't worry about it because I'm going to edge stitch all the way around. So now you can see I've got this so that that doesn't show underneath there because there was a seam, a 3/8 inch underneath there. I can still see where my hole was right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to make it so you can see it. I'm going to put that right back on my pen. I'm going to make sure that I'm close to my edge here. Whoa, that got way off. But you can use it this way anyway, and I'm going to show you how. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go where it's the closest, which is right there. Okay? And I'm going to move my needle position so it moves to the left. All right? And I'm going to go ahead and set that down in that edge. And now I'm going to adjust it back to the right a little bit because I want it right close to the edge. So now I'm just going to let the foot and the little pen move it while I guide it. So when it gets to the point where it looks like it's going to need to be pulled back in, I can still do that. But you can see how nice of an edge I can get. And I'm not having to stop and manually move it because it's moving on its own. Now that's where it went through like 8 layers of fabric. It's going to do it here in just a minute again. But basically, you've just got something that's moving it in a circle, and you're guiding the distance that the needle is stitching from the edge. Nope. I find that it's not that easy on the small mats to do this part. I just actually use it myself. I don't use this feature because it's just, they're too small. So I'm back to the beginning. I'm going to touch my little bullseye that's going to knot this off. And then I'm going to go ahead and take it off of here. And it'll look much better after one more pressing, but look at that. Is that the coolest? How it just goes right around that edge. And we didn't have to sew any opening shut. It's all done for us. So now one more thing. Here's the little one. I'm not going to finish it, but it would be done the same way. And that is our napkin. Now the napkin, you're going to cut to whatever size you want, 15, 17, whatever you want that are the same. But before you do the project, you are going to take, or before you make the napkin, you're going to take the one side, fold it over like that, and get your print in there or your crease, and then do the same thing to the other one or the other side. Pull it up and get the crease on that side. So now we know exactly where the center is. Okay. Now, what you do, mine's not sticking, so I'm giving it a little bit of extra moisture there. I'll let you figure out where I found it. Anyway, I'm going to put that down on there so this doesn't turn. Mine needs to be wet down a little bit. And I'm going to take my center of the back one, right side up. It doesn't matter. A napkin doesn't really have a front and a back, especially in this case. And I'm getting that center there and this center here. So once I've done that, again, you could mark it. I'm just folding it. Right there's my place of center. And I'm putting that on there. Then I'm taking the other one and doing, sorry you guys, doing the same thing. But before you start, this is something that won't be in any information probably where you're at. We want to offset the grain lines. So I'm going to have one that's set on point and one that's square. So right down here, you can see how that's different. Okay. This way, the back one is set on point or set on the square, and this is set on point. They're still two the same size squares. But what that does is the grain on this one follows this line, and the grain on the other one follows that line, and it's what we call stabilizing the grain. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my needle back in center position. I am going to put my foot down, my needle down, and I am going to stitch a few stitches forward and a few stitches backward. And then I'm going to go around. Now, when I get all the way around, I will stop to leave about a 4 or 5 inch opening. But I got a little trick for you so that you can see how easy it is to deal with the circle. So now as we're coming around here, this one is underneath there, but it's, again, it's all offset. So now, here's where we started. So I'm going to come to about there. I'm going to back stitch. And then I'm going to change my stitch length up to about 4.5 because I want a basting stitch. And I'm going to stitch the rest of the way. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to raise that needle And because I want some long threads to grab onto, I'm just going to pull that back and flip it to the back and cut it that way. And so now we are just going to, I'm going to put that pin back on there. I leave it on the pen and I use it to actually cut because it just rotates around there for me as I pull. Now I noticed I just cut the area I wanted to leave longer. So it's going to be a little trickier, but we can do it. I would recommend that you leave it longer the next time or the first time that you do it. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. But because this has not been quilted or anything, it's easier to leave it on here and just have it pull around rather than try and hold it. So now we're coming back. This right here was where I would have wanted to leave it longer. But I cut it off. This is my basting thread. So if you'd have left it this long, all the way across there and then back, the next step would have been a little easier. But like I said, we can do it. Now I'm going to go press this part and I'll be right back. Do you have any questions?
Nora asked, what is the blue piece called? And I'm wondering, I think, Nora, I think you mean this right here, which is the straights part of the circle. And well, it's the circle and straights universal guide as if you're buying it by itself, which you can. You can get this just by itself, but then it'd be more just for over here for making it straights. Let me know, Nora, if that's what you were asking.
I'm sure it probably was. The piece, you can get it by itself and use it with this mat, but it's so much nicer to be able to know what sizes your circles are and it goes out farther. So now you can see why I would have wanted to leave all of it this long. This part right here is where I have basted. And so I have gone over there and pressed this back. So now I have a perfect edge. So I don't have to try and turn this into a circle and press it down. So now once I take my, I didn't get far enough. I got to go just a little bit farther. Okay, so you can see here, this is all my basting stitches, but it would have been nice if I'd have had this long all the way across there to press, because the whole idea is to press that so that when you get finished with this, you don't have to pretend to try and figure out what a perfect circle would look like. So now I'm just going to cut these threads here. and pull that out. I didn't have a long enough thread to grab onto. There we go. So now when we turn this through, I'm going to show you another tool that I use a lot. This one right here. Okay, this is the new version of the old version I've had for, I will say, 100 years. Okay, this is my old one. And I asked Famori, I said, are you going to make one of those? And they did. So this has a pointed edge and this has a little divot. It's for basically turning tubes or anything like this. So I'm just going inside there, clamping that together and turning this right side out. And you can use this for a lot of different purposes. But whenever I'm doing my napkins, that's the way I turn it, because just like that, you've got everything turned out. And if you just kind of go around like I'm doing right here and pull on that, you're going to find that once you use your creaser and your tube turner, it's going to lay just pretty much flat for you. So we're going to just show you here. Right where I did that pressing, see, it's already pressed where it needs to go. So then when we do our top stitching, after we press all of the other edge, it's just going to lay right sides together and you don't have to do any hand stitching. And it knows how it's supposed to meet up. Obviously, the place where it's longer is easier to deal with, but you know me, I guess I have to make the mistakes so I can show you what to do. So this will then all be pressed flat, and then we would edge stitch right close to the edge of that. And many of you may have a machine that has what's called a left edge top stitch foot. That would be perfect for this. If not, you can use your zipper foot. You can use your regular foot, but these others are a little bit easier. And so then you would have your circular napkin. So I hope this has been helpful for you tonight. And if you don't have time to make the whole set of everything, you know, I saw somebody on there said, oh, I don't have time to make it and send it to my grandkids. Well, you know, you might have enough time to mail them the little tiny mug mats, because those virtually take no time at all. And with this being a digital download, it's going to be pretty darn easy to get that off of there. But because of the fact that we stabilize the grain, we don't have any waving anywhere on this. It's just going to lay nice and flat. So that's the plate, or that's the napkin. This is our almost finished little mug mat and our finished placemat. So we have done a little bit of everything with several different tools. And I hope this is a project that you like. And obviously, you don't have to do it for Easter. You can do it for any season. The pattern was written when we called it Trim the Table. And so I would hope that you would all at least give this a try. And if you don't have a Circles and Straight's tool, get one of those. You're going to love it. And everybody have a great Easter. Have a great rest of the week. And stay safe. See you all.